If you go anywhere on the internet and type in Timesplitters, 9 times out of 10, when people are singing the praises of this series, they're speaking about Timesplitters 2, a game that I just recently played and beaten for the very first time. And although the game is considered to be one of the greatest first-person shooters of the 6th generation, if you actually look hard enough, you'll find people saying that they don't really like Timesplitters 2, and they actually prefer the first game or maybe even the third game. And I gotta be honest, even though Timesplitters 2 starts off very strong, it ends so poorly that by the end of it, I was done, and I don't see myself returning to this game ever again. Before we continue with this review, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the hype button. I'm grateful to Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for bringing each and every one of you to my channel, as I know you guys could be doing anything right now, but you decided to watch little old me, and I know it's because of them. I hope you all are having a blessed day and that you enjoy the rest of this review. Now let's get back into it. First of all, one thing that can't be denied about Timesplitters 2 is that every issue with Timesplitters 1 has basically been solved. Timesplitters 1 was a solid game when it came to the core gameplay that they had down pat, but the problem was that Timesplitters 1 just felt like a demo. It wasn't a lot of content, and the content that was there kind of felt bare bones and not really fleshed out. Timesplitters 2 is just overall a better sequel. It actually has a story this time, there's extra game modes, way more characters than before, and the game has an even greater level editor than the previous one. So on paper, everything about Timesplitters 2 is just better than Timesplitters 1. But the problem is the execution. The execution in Timesplitters 1 was far more superior than what we got in Timesplitters 2. And I think the best way to explain my feelings toward this game is to start off with the story mode. The first thing you'll notice coming from Timesplitters 1 is that there's actually a story with the story mode, full of cutscenes and really impressive animation and pretty good voice work. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like the story that you're given is oh so great, but it is better than having next to nothing that the first game had. The Timesplitters, the creatures from the first game, are disrupting the flow of time, and it's up to Cortez, a space marine, to go back in time and to stop them before they can mess anything up.
I'll hold them off here. Hey.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks.
The game doesn't really explain this, but when he goes back in time, he actually jumps into the body of another person. That's why he transforms. The characters you control have their own little story that you kind of sort of know of because there's some text before each mission telling you what the character you're about to take control of was doing at the time. But Cortez's concern is to get the time crystals in order to stop the Timesplitters from messing up the timeline, so anything else that he has to do is really secondary. And by the way, guys, you don't know how many takes it took me to say all those words with time in it without mixing them up. It's very annoying, and I wish they came up with different names for these things. Overall, the story is serviceable. It just gives you context to why anything is happening at any given moment. Even the sub-stories of the different characters you control, yes, the cutscenes are cool, the characters have a lot of personality, but again, it's not much going on here. It's really just context for why you're doing the things you're doing. And honestly, that's enough. I'm not going to crap on the game for it. I did enjoy watching the cutscenes, and for a game like this that has you jumping to different timelines, I think this is enough to just get the player going and hold their attention. Nobody's going to play Timesplitters 2 and say this is one of the greatest stories ever, or even a story that's memorable, but it's something that you'll play through and say, hey, I had a good time with this, and it's something you can easily jump back into at any time. Now, that's just the narrative. When it comes to the actual gameplay of the story mode, well, this is where Timesplitters starts off strong, but then it just goes into the pits of hell really quickly. Unlike Timesplitters 1, you're not just finding the time crystal and then running back to a goal. Instead, these stages play more like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, where you have a bunch of mini missions inside the level and you have the overall objective that you need to complete. Now, even though these missions have primary and secondary missions, at least on normal, as far as I know, you have to complete all the missions because the time gate would not pop up if I did not complete a secondary mission. And a few times I forgot maybe one object when it came to the secondary missions because all of those are very simplistic. And as soon as I found whatever I was looking for, then I was able to actually leave the level. So I don't know why it's labeled secondary because you have to do it. As far as the missions go, they vary depending upon the level and whatever the character that you took control of was doing at the time. For example, in Siberia, which is based off of the first level in GoldenEye, the game kind of mixes in some stealth, then it gets really action with a lot of gunfights, then out of nowhere zombies pop up, then you top the level off with a gunfight with a helicopter. Siberia has to be the worst mission in the game. You might be saying, what are you talking about? This is the greatest mission ever, and you just said so. What I mean by it's the worst mission in the game is because you can't start your game off this strong and not deliver. And Timesplitters 2 does exactly that. It starts off crazy. It's like, if this is what you're going to get, then the expectation is set. But it just goes downhill from there. It starts off slow, but once the game gets bad, oh, you don't want to play the game anymore. At least I didn't. The next level is Chicago, and I just love the Chicago gangster theme, using Tommy guns, shooting up bad guys in the streets. It was pretty fun. The only issue is that this level has a lot of sniping in it, and it's really hard to tell who you're supposed to hit. The game is hinting that where you see lit up rooms in the far off distance, that's likely where an enemy is shooting you from. But there's a lot of times I was just getting popped out of nowhere wondering what was happening. But overall, the level was solid, and I like the way it ended with this almost homage to Scarface, where, well, at least it looks like Scarface to me, where you have a shootout with these gangsters on top of these red stairs. And of course the Timesplitters pop up and chase you down. Now this was the level I realized that you got to complete the secondary missions, because I forgot one of these barrels to shoot up and the time gate would not open until I found it. And I also have to say this, the first 2 levels do a good job of blending the Timesplitters into the level itself. In the first level, it's revealed that the Timesplitter is kind of the reason why the zombies popped up. And there are a few other levels that do the same thing. Like there's a futuristic level, which we'll talk about as well, where you can see they were experimenting with one of the Timesplitters' bodies. So I like when the levels did that. Just a subtle bit of lore building that I thought added something missing to the story, because once again, the story is serviceable, but it's not much going on here. So the first 2 levels were pretty solid. Second level, not as good as Siberia, as no other levels get as good as Siberia, but now we're going to Notre Dame.
Are you a believer, my pretty girl? The angels will come and you will see your destiny. So pure.
This level is pretty dark, and it wants to show off the fire effects that this game has. Now, I will say this, playing this on the PS5, whatever emulator they're using, it's making fire effects do this weird blur that shouldn't be there, or at least it's not supposed to look this way. But I'm not going to hold the game against that, because once again, that is the emulator's fault. But you save a few women in this dungeon, and you got to watch out, because one of them that you save is actually already turned and she can attack you. Once you save the last woman, Quasimodo pops up and helps you fight off all the cultists, which I thought was pretty cool. But overall, his AI is so good, you basically don't have to do anything here. Then you fight a giant demon. Then the level ends with you taking down the cultists, and it's something interesting he mentions. He mentions an angel of time, which I'm imagining he's referring to the Timesplitter that gave him his powers and abilities. So again, lore building, I appreciate that for a game, especially that doesn't have much story, and I thought that was cool that they added that in there. He says it right before he dies, so you might miss it. But again, another solid level for Timesplitters 2. Now we go to Planet X, which is actually a level from the first game, but way better. This level overall, I mean, it's cool aesthetically. It has that old school space vibe with this man in the spacesuit, the laser guns bouncing off all over the walls. It's a solid level. It's not much to say about it. I mean, it's just kind of space themed, but there's nothing really crazy that happens in this level. A lot of turn shooting in this level, which is fine, but overall, it's just an okay level that doesn't bring the game down, but it's one of the weaker and less memorable levels. But one thing I can say, it's not annoying. And trust me, we're getting closer to the annoying levels. And in fact, here we are. Neo Tokyo. This is where the game starts to break a little bit. I believe the developers were trying to give the player more things to do than run and shoot, which I'm pretty sure was a giant criticism of the first game. And they, yeah, okay. So this level starts off odd, where you have to follow behind this NPC and follow them to a base and then sneak into the base and then get an access code. That's what you're supposed to do. What you'll quickly realize is that there are cameras everywhere, and if they spot you, then basically you can't get into the base because the enemy aggroes you, and then you basically have to start the level over. So again, they tell you to follow this person. So you're thinking, okay, you follow them on their route, and then you're supposed to dodge these cameras, which this game isn't really built for that, because the way the cameras can spot the player is to a degree that if you're used to any stealth game, you're like, okay, I'll hide behind some type of cover. But in this game, you can't really get a good read on your character's model, so you'll hide behind something and still get spotted. Then there are police cars that come up at certain periods of time that have bigger, wider ranges of view, and they can spot you instantly. And you can't get too close to the NPC because then they'll get spooked. So then what are you supposed to do? What I figured out what you're supposed to do is once I realize where the NPC will end up going, I just beeline straight there past all of the security cameras and the police cars that you pretty much can't avoid. And I don't think that that's actually good game design because they tell you to follow the character, but once you realize where to go, you basically do a speed run strat and just go straight there to yourself, avoiding all the issues. Now, once you're in, then the game just kind of defaults to you just shooting up a bunch of bad guys. There is a bit of like hacking, but that's just pressing a button. There's nothing really going on here. And this level overall was kind of just awkward. This is where I failed the most at because of that sneaking stuff, because this game wasn't built for that. So they just kind of throw that in there last minute, and that could have worked because really all you're doing is dodging lines of sight. But when the line of sight is so great that it's hard for the player to get around, then it just becomes annoying. In fact, I actually got through this level once by following the NPC like they told me to, but then to dodge the police car that it's unavoidable to dodge, the only way I could dodge him is to go all the way back to a place that his light could not see me at all. But by the time I did that, I lost where the NPC was going and didn't know where to follow them to anymore. So that's why I learned the strat, just beelining it around. And thanks to Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for teaching me to go around all these security cameras and just beeline it to the end, because otherwise I would have been left frustrated. Okay, as a brief reminder, remember we started off with Siberia. Amazing level, set the tone for the game. If the rest of the game was like Siberia, we would have had like one of the greatest first-person shooters ever. Chicago, a step down, but the aesthetics were cool enough and the level wasn't offensive. Fine. The sniping was annoying, but you know, overall this was a good level. Notre Dame, again, another solid level, a lot of interesting things, but overall not as good as Siberia. Return to Planet X was overall just a level. It wasn't nothing good or bad about it, kind of boring, but overall it's fine. Neo Tokyo, very awkward level with all the stealth in the beginning that the game isn't designed around, and once you complete it, it just goes into shoot your way to the end. So it was just kind of a strange level to begin with, but this is probably the beginning of the end, the true beginning of the end. You could argue that Planet X was, but I'm going to start here. Wild West, cool theme. Who doesn't love cowboys and revolvers? But again, like Neo Tokyo, the level begins with this awkward moment where after you shoot up all the bad guys, you have to save this woman from a jail cell. Problem is, you need to push this crate against this wall and blow it up. Nothing in the game hints that you need to do this. You do find like this keg of oil, which you can use to blow up the crate of dynamite. But again, if it wasn't for Jehovah God and Jesus Christ explaining to me that you can actually move this thing around this wagon, I would have just been stuck here because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And it just makes the level seem awkward because you're going to be at this big halt in progression. Now, once you get past this part, the game just continues on with its Western theme. You shoot up a bunch of bad guys with revolvers and rifles. There's a boss fight, if you want to call it that, but this guy dies in like mere seconds. So it's really just nothing. And don't do what I did. Don't get trolled and like push this cart of dynamite and then blow yourself up like I did. The only thing I can say about this level that was interesting is because maybe I was just frustrated with it. I did get that feeling from the first Timesplitters of like, I need to hurry up back and get back to the time gate. And really what it was just, I just had low health and I just didn't want to die and do everything over again because the checkpoints started to get a little bit, they started to get a little scarce with the checkpoints by the time you hit Wild West. And that's just kind of the difficulty of Timesplitters. The further you get into the game, the less checkpoints you have and also the less health pickups you can find. Next level is Atom Smasher, and I gotta be honest, I was like, Atom Smasher, I don't remember this level, and I booted it up to recall what it was, and then I remembered this is the worst mission in the game. I think God was protecting me by blocking out of my memory because off name alone, I could not recall what it was, but once I booted it up, I realized this is the most infuriating mission in the game. I will say that the level starts off strong with a cool cutscene and the concept that there's a bunch of bombs about to go off and you need to disable them before time runs out. I like that idea. Kind of reminds me of the ending of a Resident Evil game. The problem is that, remember I said how the further you get into Timesplitters 2, the less health you get and the checkpoints get scarce? Bro, it's like literally barely any health in this game. Barely any armor in this game. And the one checkpoint you get can literally put you in a spawn trap where you're faced off between two different enemies that can shoot you. Now, I don't mean like a hardcore spawn trap where you just spawn and you're just taking damage, but you are basically sitting right next to two enemies. And I just thought that this was really stupid. And once again, the way Timesplitters work is that when you reach a checkpoint, you start the game off with the same health you had when you first found that checkpoint. So by the time you get to this part in the level, you're likely to have very low health, because before this, there's a bunch of shootouts, a lot of guards with more powerful guns than you. And until you can get your hands on one yourself, you're basically stuck with this pistol that doesn't do much damage. Like, this level is so unfairly difficult that it actually reminded me how bad these N64 like controls are. Now, in the first Timesplitters, you could just run and gun your way through the game, and anytime you need to use precision aiming, which was not that common, the enemy placement and the difficulty made that control scheme not seem so bad. For those that don't know, when you aim in this game, the camera doesn't move with the gun, so it's basically the camera stays still and the cursor moves all around the screen. I stand by my opinion that this was never a good idea, but it only worked back in the N64 days because, well, a lot of people didn't know any better then, even though there were plenty of other shooters that didn't do that at all. But once people realized that when you aim, the gun and the camera should move at the same time, that's when things started to get a lot better. And about time Timesplitters 2 came out, this was already understood, but they kept with this old school design, which again, if you design the game around these controls, which aren't that good, it doesn't feel that bad. The problem is that Timesplitters 2 has some of the most difficult enemies that they've ever made. The accuracy you need to shoot some of these enemies, because it comes to a point, especially in this level, where getting headshots is so pivotal to success that just doing body shots is not enough. Because yeah, you could just shoot enemies in the body, but they take a lot of damage. And not only that, but one thing I praise Timesplitters 1 about is that I love the way that these games have dynamic animations depending upon where you shoot the enemy. So if you shoot them in the leg, they'll react there. If you shoot them in the arm, they'll react there. It's pretty cool. The problem is that they got too detailed with these animations in this game, and it's hard to read. Like, playing a level this difficult with barely any bullets for the most powerful guns that you would want to hold on to, when the enemies are reacting to bullets in such a dynamic way that they're actually technically dead, but you might think they're still alive because they just won't drop down to the ground. What seems like a cool idea becomes very annoying when it comes to the gameplay itself. And not only that, but just some of the objectives in this mission are just made to be annoying. You have to put out these fires. Now, the best way to do this is to crouch and aim at the fire that way than trying to aim from it from standing up, which is something JEHOVAH God had to point out to me, because once you die in this mission for the umpteenth time, you're going to look for the quickest way to do anything in it. And thankfully, he pointed that out to me. But even with knowing that, the issue is that there is no feedback for the player to know that they're doing anything. So you use the extinguisher on the fire, and a lot of games that have this mechanic, the fire will slowly go down. No, that's not how this game works. You will hear a noise, but you don't know if you're actually doing anything. There was times where I was standing up hitting the fire with the extinguisher and I was hearing the noise constantly, but the fire would never be put out, which is just wasting time when the world is about to blow up around me. Speaking of explosions, to take out the bombs, you need an NPC to do this for you. Not a big deal. But one bomb in particular, one stupid bomb is placed in this long hallway full of the most powerful enemies in this level. They all have assault rifles with grenade launchers. There's a bunch of barrels that can kill you. Also, the extinguishers can kill you if they get shot off the wall. Cool effect, but not at this moment in time where I'm dying left and right. It's kind of annoying now. There are turrets everywhere. You have to turn off these valves to even get into the room where you have to disable the bomb. Now the way you disable this bomb is by using this magnet. The problem is that these controls and the way the magnet works freaking sucks. It barely ever picks up the bomb. And it almost feels like the magnet gets better as the time gets shorter on the bomb itself. Like, it always felt like I could never pick the bomb up, but when I only had a few seconds left, magically the bomb will get picked up by the magnet. I thought this was very annoying. This whole segment was stupid. And the level's not over. Keep in mind, I told you there's only one checkpoint, and the checkpoint is very early in the stage. You have long stretches of battles. Then after doing all of this, you have to put out the fire, find the last bomb and dispose of it. There's no more timing to worry about, which is great, but guess what? Now you have to get to the end of the level and beat a boss that has dual assault rifles. And then the Timesplitters pop up. And these are the strongest they've ever been. They're shooting lightning balls at you that do hella damage. And keep in mind, they pop up in the middle of the boss fight. So you don't even get to fight the human boss by yourself. You got to fight him while dodging a Timesplitter that keeps going invisible so you can't even see it. Then you have to know you're supposed to flip these switches in order to turn the gate on to leave. I was so glad for this level to end. Jehovah God and Jesus Christ pulled me through. This was the worst level in the game. Well, one of the worst levels in the game. And I was just done at this point, but I was already committed. I was halfway through. I said, I got to review Timesplitters 2. Now we got to go to the next stage. The jungle level. It looks nice. It's bright and colorful, better than that cold interior of that factory that you were just in. But the level's kind of confusing because once again, you're halted by this gigantic puzzle. Bro, this is the stupidest puzzle that I've ever experienced in a game. Like, I love puzzles. And when I was stumped by this puzzle, I was sitting here saying, okay, what am I missing? What am I missing? And I always pray to God when I get stuck in anything in life, but especially when it comes to a puzzle in a game, because sometimes I feel like I'm just being stupid and I don't want to spoil the puzzle by looking it up, because I don't want to be like, dang, I kind of spoiled a good puzzle for myself by overthinking it and getting frustrated and Googling it. When God helps me solve a puzzle, he doesn't just tell me the answer. Instead, he points me in the right direction to figure things out. But Jehovah God and Jesus Christ had better plans, because, see, little did I know is that this is one of the most infamous puzzles in Timesplitters 2 and probably gaming history. Because even in the year 2026, if you look up this puzzle on Google, you will see people who are going back in time playing Timesplitters 2 and realizing this is one of the worst puzzles ever invented, because it tells you nothing about how to solve it. Like, the point of a puzzle is to, at bare minimum, give the player some level of a hint to know where to even begin. They don't do this at all. In fact, a lot of people still don't know how to solve the puzzle, and when I was looking up how to, people were giving out bad information, not because they were trying to, but because they don't even understand what the solution of the puzzle is supposed to be, or rather they might know the solution. They know how to turn these dials and what it's supposed to look like, but they don't understand the concept behind the puzzle. All there is to this puzzle is that you need to have each symbol facing one another. How are you supposed to know that that's what you're supposed to do? You tell me. The game sure doesn't. And guess what? When you Google how to solve this puzzle, you know, a lot of people say, they say, well, if you go to the level on easy or you go to the multiplayer map with this level in it, they have the puzzle already solved and just get the information from there. And that's what people did back in the day, because this puzzle doesn't explain itself. Now, once you get past this dumb puzzle, the rest of the level is fine. The ending bosses with like those yetis or golems, they're golems, but they look like yetis. You can like trap them in the floor. I thought that was kind of interesting, but this part, I was stuck here for so long. I accidentally stumbled upon that your PDA system, the map, actually, if you press a button, you can actually start up a mini game in it. I was so just stumped here, just stuck. Like, I thought Resident Evil Zero's animal puzzle was bad. No, this is bad, because at least that puzzle tells you something. This is horrible. This is probably, I was probably more frustrated here than with Adam Smasher, because at least with Adam Smasher, I was at least able to shoot bad guys and develop a strategy to get better at what I was doing. There's nothing to do here. You're just stuck looking at these stupid pillars, wondering what you're doing wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. It's the game's fault. This is one of the few times that I can say, as a gamer, this is their fault. The developers told you nothing until how to solve this puzzle. Horrible, horrible design, horrible. And the bad times keep flowing in, because this next level, oh boy, this next level. I will say this to be nice, because I've been kind of cruel. I can appreciate that they took the concept from the first Timesplitters by having you play as these robot characters fighting other robots, and the robots take more damage than normal. Even your own character takes more damage than normal. I like that attention to detail. That's cool, and that's about as far as I can get with the positivity in this level. Because in this level, for whatever reason, they invented this gun. Now, this gun is technically in the alien level that I said was a solid level. You know, it was a fine level, but overall was boring. But the way that level was designed is that you were fighting in a lot of big open areas. That's important because the gun you use in that level is also on this level. What's so unique about this gun? It has ricocheting bullets that also harm you, the player. Yes, your own bullets that ricochet off walls, which you have no control over, is going to happen no matter what, can randomly strike you and do damage to you. But that's not all. Practically every enemy in this level has the same type of gun. So you see a very cool effect of bullets bouncing all over the walls. It's cool, but guess what? that just opens you up to taking more damage than normal. I have taken damage by my own weapon by accident, and it's out of my control. Every enemy in this level has high levels of health because they're robots. Again, I appreciate the attention to detail, but this became very annoying. And again, the further you get into any Timesplitters game, they give you less health and less armor, and occasionally give you fewer checkpoints, which means you have to have long stretches of patience and skill to get past any of this. Now, there are a few moments in this level where you can use a turret, and Jehovah God showed me how I could cheese my enemies, like lure them near the turret and take them out that way to save on bullets. But man, like this entire level is just bad. And near the end, bro, near the end, you reach this checkpoint, right? And then once you get past all the like small fries in front of you, near the end, you fight these enemies that have heat-seeking rocket launchers. And yes, you could get this same weapon for yourself, but I don't know why, but when the NPCs use it, it's almost always guaranteed it's going to hit me. When I use it, my rockets just do stupid stuff and don't hit them ever. And they do sickening amount of damage. Crazy. And keep in mind, they're heat-seeking, so basically what that means is if you dodge one, which I was able to do, it can just wrap right back around and hit you anyway. So it's like, you really can't do much here, but pray and hopefully you kill all of them before they kill you. That's all you got at your disposal. There's nothing you can do about it. Just pray, which I encourage everyone to do at any moment in time. But you gotta pray and just shoot them before they shoot you. And even then, they might shoot you, you dodge the rocket, and then you get blasted away by it anyway, because it just circled back and hit you regardless. And then after this point in this level, you think, man, I just fought all these robots. They had heat-seeking missiles. I had to dodge my own ricocheting bullets. What's next? It's gotta be the end, right? Gotta end the level. Nope. The game ends the level with a gigantic robot boss fight with no real indication on how you're supposed to do damage to it. I still don't know where its weak points are. I believe it's near these joints, but I'm not really sure. And I was just glad for this level to end. And they know this ending fight was stupid because the fight before it, they gave you crap loads of health. And when I mean crap loads, I mean 2. But for this game, that's a lot. They gave you 2 extra pieces of armor in that arena where you're fighting like 5 different robots with heat-seeking rocket launchers. They knew that this was cheap. They knew this was stupid. That's why they gave you more health than you would normally expect in an ending level of Timesplitters. But they didn't give you more health when you fought the final boss in the level. Like, it's really stupid. And the last level of the game, does it get any better? No, it doesn't actually. The last level, you're back in the current day time period as Cortez, and your partner gets killed. You need to get the time crystals and fight off the Timesplitters. The Timesplitters do way more damage than any other enemy in the game. They keep going invisible, so you can't see them half the time. Some of them are really tiny, and that's really annoying to fight as well. And you just have to blast your way through this level. You need to get a hazmat suit, which you might not realize you can even pick up like me. You need to go outside, do a turn segment, and the timer is ticking on this space station. It's going to blow up. So you need to hurry up and do all these things before the level ends. And let me tell you what's so stupid. Near the end of the level, you have to flip a switch and then ride a elevator going down. The way this level is designed, I didn't even realize that when I flipped this switch, anything occurred. Because I'm getting attacked left and right. Remember, the Timesplitters can just teleport in. They don't never stop attacking you. So it's no time to breathe, to get a grasp of your surroundings. It's just dumb. And then even the last bit of the level where you're in the hangar with the spaceship, it's a bunch of enemies that are around you, and thank the Lord you could just beeline it to the ship and the level ends, because it's set up in a way where you think you got to keep fighting. No, just run to the ship and end the game. And that's the end of Timesplitters 2's story. It was bad. It was bad. It started off strong. The game just kept getting more and more weird, more and more unfairly difficult. I love difficult games. It became unfair. It became frustrating. It became annoying. And that is why I'm seeing people say, yo, Timesplitters 2, we might be having rose-tinted glasses. As someone who does not have nostalgia for it, didn't grow up playing it, I'm telling you, I think some people have nostalgia goggles on with this game. If you don't, I'm not talking about you. If you played the game back in the day and you loved it, and it's a genuine love, it's not just nostalgia speaking, dope. But I promise you, there are people that just don't recall how bad this game really is. As for the rest of the game, it's not much to say. It's just fine. One thing I really think is cool, they added this new league mode, which basically takes offline bot matches, adds a little theme to each one, and allows the players to just go nuts shooting up a bunch of NPCs. Again, I think this is good. I think that games today should have it. I know a lot of people understand that people have internet, but I still think this concept is cool. Adding bot matches so that people can get some type of a multiplayer experience offline. The only issue I have with this league mode is that you have to go in order with difficulty. So there's the amateur, honorary, then elite. I just feel that the amateur difficulty mode, which you must get through to get to the next one, is so easy that you could find yourself being bored and not wanting to get to the more difficult matches that lie ahead. Challenge mode is also back. Not much to say here. The challenges range from good to just okay. Again, each type of challenge has a different difficulty, and the easy ones are so easy. Again, I feel like they're a little bit boring and you have to go through most of them to get to the more challenging ones. But overall, everything extra outside of Timesplitters 2 is just fine. The map editor, again, it's a great map editor, but because we're in a day and age where people don't come over each other's houses, who's using that today? So I can give them credit that they made a great map editor that is still great today, but it's pointless today unless you are a really niche person that plays Timesplitters 2 and makes maps and has people come over to experience them. Other than that, it's just something from the past that I can appreciate and say they did a good job on, but overall is useless now. Now that's Timesplitters 2. A game that started off very strong. It made me say, okay, this is why people love this game. And then it quickly made me realize why a bunch of people actually hate the game. And I'm leaning on the side of hate. I don't think people should play Timesplitters 2. I really don't. Even for the good parts in this game, it's not enough of them for me to tell you to go through the game and play through the bad parts. It's too much bad going on for me to recommend this game. I could say play the game on easy, but that's not going to be fulfilling because the easy mode in this game is really easy to the point that unless you just started playing first person shooters for the first time, you're not going to be satisfied with the easy mode in this game. Anyone that has nostalgia for Timesplitters 2, I don't even need to talk to you. You're going to play the game because you just have feelings for it. If you're someone that's looking to play an old school shooter on your PS5 and you do want to play against bots or something, or you want some challenge modes too and all that, the extra stuff in this game is solid enough that I think when Timesplitters 2 goes on sale for a couple of bucks, yeah, it's fine there, but don't be mad if you turn on this single player mode and get frustrated because of how bad it is. And it's sad because, again, it starts off strong. And this isn't a case of a rush development, at least not from what I can tell. This isn't a case of the budgets need to be cut, so they just start doing funky things with the last few levels. No, they just purposely made them annoying. It took them almost 2 years to make this game. And I don't know if they play tested it in their mind. They just thought that this was fine, or maybe they thought this was the arcade days. That was horrible. All that extra difficult stuff, that cryptid stuff, that puzzle and that Aztec ruin was so, I can't believe they did that. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the hype button. I'm grateful to Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for bringing each and every one of you to my channel, as I know you guys could be doing anything right now, but you decide to watch little old me, and I know it's because of them. Let me know what you think about Timesplitters 2 in the comment section. Once again, thanks for watching. I'm grateful for each and every one of you for stopping by, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.